Hey, what's up guys? It's Chris Greenwood, aka Manafest. Welcome to another audio series. We want to entertain, inspire, and educate. In this audio, I talk about overcoming rejection and taking action. For more audio programs like this and music, go to manafest.com. Let's jump into it. How many of you know we live in a world today where they talk more about our limitations than they do our potential? Like, you're too young, you're too old, you can't afford it, not yet, wait, we just sold out, come back tomorrow, the timing isn't right now, maybe next time. You know, don't tell me what I can't do, where I can't go, and what's not possible. Tell me what is. Tell me yes. Say there's a small chance if I apply anyways. Tell me maybe I'd be good at that, or I could see you doing that if you just keep working at it. Yeah, that'd be great for you. That is possible if you just try. Make that call. You should send that package out and go for it. Go up to that person and talk to them right now. I think there's still a chance if you just talk to them right now. You know, I don't know about you, but I hate being told no, and I hate rejection. I like to be told yes, sure, let's do it. Let's make a deal. Let's make this happen and go for it. Unfortunately, rejection is sometimes loud, it's abrupt, the door's just slammed in our face like, no, go away, we don't want you right now, we got somebody else, we don't need you right now, and they're really rude and obnoxious and they just don't even care, almost heartless. Other times, rejection is quiet and it's almost polite, like, oh, I'm sorry, you're just not qualified for the position right now, or you're overqualified, or we chose somebody else, but maybe you should apply next year. Or one of my favorites when it comes to relationships, you know, I really like you a lot, but let's just be friends. You know, that doesn't lessen the blow any less at all, does it? It still hurts, it still hits you right in the stomach. Or, of course, there's a type of rejection we've all felt, which is complete silence. No response at all. Maybe it was an email, a voicemail, or a package, or something you sent out and you just didn't get any response at all. You know, it happens to all of us, and if it hasn't yet, it's going to. But there's one thing I've realized. Attitude on how we respond when we're told no, when we felt rejection, is everything. How you have your attitude towards it will change everything, and you want to respond with a good attitude. Winston Churchill said success is going from one failure to the next without losing your enthusiasm. It's said that when you hear a negative comment about a dream or an idea you have, it takes 16 other people to tell you it's a good idea to overcome that one negative person just to get you back to level. So it's so important that you surround yourself with positive people, and it's also important that you act on a good idea immediately. Don't wait, and also incubate yourself away from negative people and affirm yourself, affirm the idea, and encourage it, because it only takes one negative comment to destroy a good idea. You know, when I'm coming up with songs, I'm already battling thoughts in my mind of this isn't good enough, or this is weird, or this is strange, and I'm trying to pump myself up, dancing around in my studio, writing these songs, and I could come up with this really cool idea, and then I play it for the wrong person, and they just give me even a weird look, and it just shuts me down. And I just take that song and I throw it in the garbage. How many dreams that have never seen the light of day because of one person's negative comment? We thought it was a good idea, we thought it'd be great, but because they gave us a negative comment, we took that rejection and we shut it down and threw it in the trash. You know, it takes a lot for me to come up with song ideas, and I'm dancing around in my bedroom or singing in the shower or whatever, coming up with ideas, and I'm already having to overcome myself, let alone other people that want to reject me and tell me that it's not a good idea. You know, it's been proven that successful people make decisions quickly and change their minds rarely, while unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change their minds often. When you have a good idea, when you want something, despite what other people say, don't let them change your mind. Don't let them steer you off the path. Write it down and say, I'm committed to this no matter what. Even if those 16 other people don't come around you to encourage you, let me be that one right now to say, hey, that's a good idea. Go for it. You have potential within you. You have talent. There is greatness that is just inside of you waiting to come out. When it comes to potential, IQ tests only tell us where we are right now. They don't tell us where we can go, what is possible, because you know what? It's not about how you start, but how you finish. I didn't start out too good. I lost my dad to suicide when I was 5 years old. I used to be overweight. I wasn't the smartest. I was definitely not the most talented in music when it came to school. I actually failed music in school. So the fact that I'm doing music full time and I'm even speaking right now over to you over this microphone, that just shows that it doesn't matter where you are right now. Even if they tested me a long time ago, they don't know where I can go. They don't know what's possible for you. And in fact, how dare anybody tell you you don't have greatness within you, because you do. One of my favorite stories and heroes is Peter Daniels from Australia, multi-billionaire, author, speaker, gold merchant. This guy came from a disadvantaged background. He was illiterate in his early years. He couldn't even read. His family was third-generation welfare recipients. 2 alcoholic brothers, 4 fathers, 2 mothers. A lot of his relatives had been in jail. He failed every grade in school. I didn't just fail music. This guy failed every grade. The guy became a bricklayer. At 26 years of age, he was hopelessly in debt. But guess what? One day, he attended a Billy Graham crusade. And on May 25th, 1959, he decided to turn his life around. And I remember he shared that he bought 2 dictionaries. He put one in the car and one in the bathroom to read. And he started pointing to the words and asking friends, what does this mean? What does that mean? And he taught himself how to read, and he started educating himself. He went into business 3 times, failing each time and feeling that whip of rejection. But you know what? He did it without even becoming bankrupt, and he paid the money back. And he was told that he'd never amount to anything. His teacher would slap him, would hit him, was trying to get sense into him, and just not very encouraging. But he was able to pull himself back up and become this powerful speaker, this powerful author and multi-billionaire. And what I love about this story is just like, man, if this guy was able to go through that, why not me? If he was able to overcome the rejection and the disadvantaged background and the fact that he couldn't even read, why not me? And I want to say the same thing to you. Why not you? To pull yourself back up and get a new attitude, get new energy, and re-inspire yourself to keep going. That's why I love to read biographies and stories of these powerful men and women, because a lot of these successful people, they had failed before. They had made mistakes, but the one quality they all have is they didn't quit. When it comes to overcoming rejection, the question in our minds, what if I succeed, has to become bigger than what if I fail? We need to focus on the end goal and where we want to go. See yourself winning, not seeing yourself losing. We already know we're going to fall sometimes. We're going to make mistakes. That's okay. The only people that don't make mistakes are people that don't do anything, and we are doers. We can be on the verge of throwing around some of the greatest ideas and concepts in our mind. Maybe it's an idea of a song, an invention, a creation, a concept, or a business deal, or something just amazing. But if we don't incubate that idea, we don't protect that idea, one negative comment can totally destroy it and literally pull the ground from underneath our feet, and we're just falling and standing on nothing. I heard it said, be careful who you share your dreams and ideas with, or you may find yourself in a pit. He was talking about Joseph in the Bible. I have this philosophy. I call it the just ask philosophy, because you don't know know unless you ask. I got hired or offered a deal from this construction company. They're trying to buy me from another company that I was working with. I'd already been working there for a few months, but they wanted to hire me full-time and become their in-house senior IT technician, the computer guy. I was 22 years old at the time. I was kind of like a Doogie Howser in the computer world, if you remember that show. And they offered me $45,000. I remember my boss walking into my office and chatting with me about it. And I said, let me get back to you on that. And I called a friend quickly and I said, man, 45 is cool, but I was actually kind of thinking 50. And he gave me some ideas to kind of back it up a bit. And so I remember my boss came back in and he's like, is that good? And I said to him with a little smirk on my face, I was just like, well, what about 50,000? Because I've already been at the company for a while. And for you to retrain someone, like that would take months and weeks. And I'm already ready to go. I know the systems. And he kind of smiled at me like, let me see what I can do. And he walked out of the room, came back the next day. I got the 50K, baby. That's right. And all I had to do was ask. All I had to do was try. I could have sat there sheepishly and just said, okay, I'll take the 45,000 and missed out on that extra 5,000. What's holding you back from asking? What's holding you back from making that call, raising your prices? I bet everyone listening to this right now has something that's sitting right in front of them that they can just make the ask and say, hey, can you do this for me? Is this possible? Who cares if they say no? Who cares if you get rejected? Make no your vitamin. That's what Les Brown says. Make no your vitamin. Who cares if they say no? It's not going to hurt me. Oh, wow. At least now I know, because you've heard me say this before. I didn't want to be wondering, what if? Oh, man, what if I just asked for 50? Now I'm thinking, why didn't I ask for 55? You know what I'm saying? So the just ask philosophy for overcoming rejection. I was in Los Angeles, California at the ASCAP Expo. It was teaching artists, singers, songwriters more about the music business, and I got to hear Akon speak. And people were asking for advice and questions and how to get into the music industry. And he said, there's a lot more talented people out there than him. And he said, but a lot of people get out of line before their name is called. You see, a lot of people start and they step in line and they start to work towards their dream, but before their name is just about to be called, they leave. How many times have you seen that at maybe the DMV or Service Ontario, where you're in line for your license and it's taken forever and they give you a name and a number and you're waiting and waiting and waiting for your number to be called, and then you're like, forget it. This is too hard. I'm waiting too long. I'm out. He said he'd seen so many artists, so many people step out of line right when their name is about to be called, right when their number is about to be shouted and say, yep, you're next. They left and they missed a great opportunity. You want to stay in line, go through the pain, go through the discipline, and wait for your name to be called. You got to go through the rejection, got to go through the no's until someone says yes. There's a great story I like that Les Brown shares, that he used to do door-to-door sales selling TVs. He'd walk up to a door and say, hey, my name's Les Brown. Would you like to buy a new TV with no money down? No! Slam the door in his face. Whoa. Walked up to the next door, knocked on the door. Hey, my name's Les Brown. Would you like a new TV? No! Why are you knocking on my door? Boom. Talk about rejection. He had a friend that was also out there with him selling TVs. And after a few rejections, he was like, man, no one's buying TVs on this street. I'm going home. Forget it. And Les was like, well, you know what, man? I'm going to stay out a little longer. I'm going to try a little longer. I got to sell some TVs. The reason he stayed out with there so long is because he had to provide for his mother. He had to provide food. And that gave him a stronger purpose and desire, where his friend had his bills and food paid for. Talk about a different purpose and a different reason to stay out there and get through the rejections. In fact, he said that after the third or fourth rejection, he didn't take it personal anymore, and he turned it into a game. And that's what sometimes we have to do with life and our situations, is turn it into a game. He said, you know what? There's got to be a yes out there somewhere. I believe in what I'm selling. This is a good TV. Somebody's going to want a TV. No money down? Come on. So he started knocking on doors, and it was even late now. And so it was like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And some people were like, what are you knocking on my door so late, boy? Close the door. And eventually he got someone who said, hey, what are you selling? He's like, oh, I'm selling this new TV. And he's like, oh, come on in, man. Brings the guy in. He's like, yes, I'd like to buy that. Signed up for a new TV. And while he's doing that, Les was like, hey, do you know anybody else who needs a new TV? And the guy was like, yeah, actually, my brother or whoever needs one. Could you give me their address? Sure. Goes on to the next door. Hey, man, your brother told me you'd be interested in this TV. Sure, come on in. Ends up selling his quota of TVs because he didn't quit. Some people can't take the pain and they step out of line and they miss their opportunity. Stay in line and stay at it and have your purpose big, so when your name is called, your name comes up, you can reap the reward of selling TVs or whatever it is, your service, and make a difference and overcome rejection. I don't have any experience selling TVs as a door-to-door salesman, but I do have some experience selling CDs at shows, specifically at clubs and bars. Like right when I walk off the stage, I'll go hang out at my merchandise table and wait for people to come by. And hopefully some people will come up and say, hey man, that was a really great show. Can I buy your CD? How much is it? And I'll sell a few CDs. And in the early days, especially at the clubs and bars, I remember I wasn't getting paid and I wasn't selling a lot of CDs because it wasn't a very huge audience. And so I'm standing there thinking, man, this isn't enough to pay my bills. This isn't enough to put even, gas in my tank or feed myself. So what do? I got to swallow my pride and I take a few CDs in my hand and I start walking up to people and asking them, hey man, do you want to buy a CD? I'll say something like, hey, did you like the show? Oh, cool, man. Yeah, it was really dope, man. Actually, yeah, I really did. Well, do you want to buy a CD? It's only $5. And then a lot of times some people are like, yeah, you know what? I'll buy a CD. But sometimes I'll get the look of death. Like, why are you bothering me right now? You're annoying, and go away. They don't even say anything. They just look at you with disgust, and that is the worst. And other times people say like, oh man, it was really cool, man. That's really great, but no, man, I could use this last $5 to buy a beer. And it's just like, oh, you'd rather buy a beer than buy my CD? That sucks or whatever. And so it's really discouraging. But again, your why has to become bigger than your fear. The reason why you're doing what you're doing will give you the reason to step out and specifically take action, so you're not letting the fear or the thought of rejection rule your life. One of my favorite movies is Walk the Line, about the Johnny Cash story. And there's a scene in there that I think just has a really powerful lesson about not getting bitter, but getting better. Johnny and his friends are auditioning for the record label to get signed. And the record exec is in there listening. He's got his notes, he's got a cigarette, listening to them play some songs. And he's got his two guys there backing him up, and they're singing. And before the first song is even done, the exec is just like shaking his head like, stop. Do you got anything else, guys? Can you play something else? And he's like, what? You don't like this song? He's like, no, man, I don't believe you. You're not singing it like I believe you. And Johnny at first is frustrated. He feels rejected, man. He's like, what? You're telling me I don't believe in God? He's like, I don't believe in what you're singing at all. Do you got anything else? And Johnny's frustrated at first, and he looks at him kind of like, huh. He's like, well, I got a song that I sung when I was in the war. And he's like, sure, go for it, man. Just sing something you're passionate about. Sing something that you believe in. And Johnny starts singing, and he's passionate about it, and he's going for it. And you can see the exec just bobbing his head like, yeah. And we all know the end of this story. He ends up getting signed, touring the world, selling millions of records. But what I love about that is a lot of artists, a lot of people would just get angry. They diss their first idea and run out of there. So you don't like it? Okay, fine. This is my art. This is whatever. I'm not working with you anymore. Johnny was able to be flexible and try a different angle. And you know what? He already had it within him. He had the song written already. He had the concept there. It was inside of him. He just needed somebody to pull it out. If he had gotten bitter instead of getting better, he never would have realized he had something inside of him. In fact, he was playing just some gospel songs of somebody else that weren't even his when he had his own. So not only is he not just playing someone else's stuff, following the crowd, he's creating his own path in his own lane. And that's what it's about. Not getting bitter, but getting better. I know when I send my songs to the radio station and we get some pretty raw feedback sometimes, it's just like, whoa, it's not too friendly. And sometimes I get offended. I'm just like, man, that doesn't feel too good. I'm feeling like dissed here, rejected. It's just like, oh. But I gotta choose to not get bitter, but get better. Then write a better song, Chris. Come up with something better. Dig deeper inside myself and pull something else. I heard it was Brendan Burchard said, there's either two things that are going to happen to you that are going to change your life. Either something new is going to come into your life or something new is going to come out of you. And I like to take the road where I'd rather something new come out of me and me be the owner of my destiny and creating it for myself. So I hope that inspires. Big key right there for conquering rejection. I will prepare and someday my opportunity will come. Abraham Lincoln, the go for broke mindset. I have a friend named Nasri Atwa who's the lead singer of the band Magic, which is that big popular song Rude, produced by my buddy Adam Messenger. I met Nasri way back in the day when we were in the studio at Adams because they're good friends and I'd always be at Adams, and so I bumped into Nasri a bunch of times and just got to see this guy's tenacity, his energy, and his passion for music and songwriting. And just the fact that he's so successful does not surprise me. But I remember reading in the SoCan magazine when they interviewed Adam and Nasri, because they're kind of in a production team called The Messengers, and they were talking about the first time they spotted Justin Bieber and his manager, Scooter Braun, in a hotel lobby. And the way Adam shares it, it's like, oh, they see him. And Nasri's just like, I'm going for it, man. And he goes up to him, introduces himself, say, hey, we got some songs we think Justin will really like. Eventually Scooter gets back to him and says, hey, you know what? Your guys' songs that you guys put together, those were Justin's favorites. And the door opened up for them to start writing for Justin Bieber, including that song Mistletoe, as well as Never Say Never, and just so many other songs, working with Chris Brown, so many artists. And I just think that whole idea in the interview where Nasri is saying, I just went for it. How many times have we been in a situation where we got the opportunity, it's in front of us right there, it's like either go for it or you leave it. And the fact that he could have just let Justin come in and go, but instead he went for broke. He's just like, I'm going for it. I don't care if I get rejected. I don't care if they don't like it or not. I'm at least going to give it a try and go for it. And I just think, again, with that quote with Abraham Lincoln, I'll prepare, and someday my chance will come. We don't know when our opportunity is going to come. We don't know when that chance is just going to come around the corner. So we need to be ready. We need to be prepared. We need to be ready to make that decision and take advantage of the opportunity. And just think, if they didn't have songs ready, if they weren't writing and preparing and having something to give Justin. Because when you think about it, sometimes, we want an opportunity and we could be introduced to the most awesome person that could just connect us with all these people. But if we're not ready for it, we don't have our stuff together, we can't take advantage of the opportunity. So it's not just about being in the right place at the right time. It's about you being ready and prepared and being in the right place at the right time, or else what's the point? It's like, well, what if you get the awesome, most amazing deal on a piece of real estate or a sale, but you're broke? You have nothing saved. You spent all your savings, so you can't take advantage of that opportunity. And we feel, again, it's like, oh, well, I guess just nothing ever good happens to me, and we get into that whole cycle of rejection again. But I think there's 3 points that we can look at and go through with this. Is 1, are we ready to take advantage of it? Number 2, are we looking for the opportunity? Sometimes our heads are so stuck in the clouds of despair or just, dealing with our own issues that we don't look for new opportunities. I have my own Justin Bieber story where I was in the elevator at the Toronto airport leaving the Elite Lounge, going downstairs to board my plane, and me and my wife jumped in the elevator, and Justin Bieber was in the elevator. But I was too busy sending an email, looking at my phone. I didn't even look up to realize it was him until I saw him taking a photo with someone, and then I went up to go and try and say hi to him, and I got blocked by security, where at the time I could have been in the elevator ride, I could have said anything I wanted to this guy, but I missed the opportunity. And was I ready? And so that's just a funny little example of me missing an opportunity. And then the third thing is are we going to take action? Or are we just going to let the opportunities pass us by? And just shut down the idea and just think, oh no, it's not going to work for me, and just listening to that voice of negativity and rejecting ourselves, essentially. Again, I look at that story with Nasri, just go for it. Just step out, because you don't know. The go for broke mindset, just step out and make it happen, because you don't know unless you try. I like what Mark Twain said. If there's any power in criticism, the skunk would have been extinct years ago. People are going to criticize. People are going to diss. They're going to hate when you start chasing your dreams and things start happening. When your life and your dreams start to happen, it shines a bright light and it exposes other people's lives who have not stepped out and not going for it, and they start to compare and get frustrated, and then they start to diss and criticize. But you know what? You can't stop from chasing your dreams anyways. You still got to go for it. People are going to hate. They're not going to get it all the time. But I'm not going to stop chasing after my dreams and going for it just because somebody else doesn't want to chase after theirs. I wasn't the most talented skater. I wasn't the most talented rapper, singer, author, writer, even speaker now. But you know what? I chose to step out anyways. Because you know what? There's always going to be more talented people than me. There's always going to be more talented people than you. But you know what? Create anyways. Create and dream anyways and go for it because you have something unique to give to the world. You have value, you have talent that is different than anybody else. It doesn't always look the same, but it's different because it's you. When I heard that, that allowed me the freedom to create and write my book because I thought, you know what? There's already lots of books out there. There's better speakers, communicators. Why do I need to write a book? There's better people than me. There's always going to be better people. That's okay, and that set me free. Because let me tell you, there's two types of pains you can go through. You can either go through the pain of rejection, which doesn't weigh much at all. You can overcome that easy, no problem at all. Or there's another pain. It's called regret, and it weighs heavy. It weighs pounds. Always wondering, oh, I should have done that. I could have done that. Why didn't I do that? That sits in your mind forever. Where rejection, you can conquer that, no problem. That's what I'm here to do, to help you to overcome it and keep going. So choose the pain of conquering rejection as opposed to holding on to the pain of regret. I really like what King Solomon said in Proverbs 24:16. Even though a righteous man falls down 7 times, he gets up and goes again. Because that's what it feels like when you're getting said no to, when you're getting turned down constantly, and people just not wanting to work with you, or things are just not working out. Yeah, you got the faith, and you conquered the fear, and you're stepping out, and you're going for it, but it's still not working out. Maybe it's even more than 7 times. You know, what I think we can learn from marathon runners tells us a lot, and it's called your second wind. When you feel beat up, when you feel like you've hit a wall and you can't push any further and you don't know what to do, you don't know who to call, you're on the ground, you're out of breath, you're exhausted, to find your second wind. And in marathon runners, when they're pushing, when they're running, and they got that cramp in their stomach and that stitch, and all of a sudden they push it in, and all of a sudden they get this second wind that allows them to run even faster and farther, and it's like they break through this wall and keep going. That's what I want for you right now, is to push through that wall when you feel like you're on the ground and you don't got any more. Maybe you do need just a good night's sleep. Maybe you do need just a little bit of a rest bite for a second, and then push harder and get through and bust through that wall, bust through those no's and those barriers that are in your way, and climb over it, kick the door down, cut a hole through it, blast it through, and keep going. Develop your second wind. Keep going until you find that second wind to make it happen. I want to leave you guys with the final key to conquering rejection, and that's to stay positive. Stay encouraged, stay motivated. How dare anyone tell you that you're limited? How dare anyone say that they know the capacity of your strength and your character? You've just started, and you want to continue to listen to positive material. Stay focused, listening to stuff every day. Keep your self-esteem boosted up. Affirmation cards, listening to podcasts, reading good books about stuff. There's so many good books out there, podcasts, audiobooks, to stay encouraged and stay inspired. Don't let yourself be easily intimidated by others or feel inferior. To combat that stuff, write your strengths down, record it onto your phone so you can play it back to yourself and understand that you have value. I heard it say to take a public speaking course even, to keep boosting up your communication skills so when you're selling yourself and sharing your story. Because one thing I've learned to know is that we don't work unless our dreams work. And our dreams don't work unless we work. We need to have vision for our life. We need to have full optimism, to challenge ourselves, to risk, and to live a life that's full and with purpose. We need to have that thrill of adventure. We need the excitement of the chase and going after stuff and stepping where we've never stepped before, going where we've never gone before. You know, my Peter Daniels, my hero, he shares the story of him getting to sit beside the bedside of the greatest giants and some of the most successful achievers of the 21st century. These guys have built empires. They've done so much amazing things. And you know, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I like to say I'm an eventual millionaire. I'm working towards it. But the fact that this guy was illiterate and went through so much stuff, that inspires me. And he would sit beside these men and women that have done these great, amazing things. And he's sitting beside them on their deathbed. And when the mood is right, when it's the opportune time for conversation, he would sit down and he would politely ask them, "Hey man, do you got any regrets? Do you have any regrets over all these years of everything that you've even done?" And he said that specifically they would say, "If I had have known I'd come this far, I would have dreamed bigger. I would have dreamed bigger." These are giants. These are empire builders that said they would have dreamed bigger. That challenges me so much to think bigger, to surround myself with people that'll have empires in their minds. And so I want to challenge you, as I'm challenging myself, as I'm speaking this to you right now, to dream big, to turn on the dream machine again if you've turned it off. Crank it back up tonight. Go home, write that amazing dream, and do something great with this beautiful gift called life. Dream with no limits. Dream that it is possible for you. Not everyone is going to understand your dream. Not everyone's going to get it. But you know what? As I've traveled around the globe and done all these crazy things, I always ask myself, am I thinking big enough? God, stretch my vision. If someone else has done it, you can do it too. If no one else has done it, you can be the first. This is Chris Greenwood, Manafest, reminding you that a fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. Thanks for listening to another audio message. This is Chris Greenwood, aka Manafest, reminding you to never quit, keep going. For more audio programs like this, go to manafest.com.